The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
This is Danny Bobrow, President of Sustainable Marketing, welcoming you to this installment of the Practice Perfection Web-Based Education Series. Today's presentation is entitled, Do Well by Doing Good. Harness the power of cause marketing to transform your practice. And will be delivered by yours truly and my dear friend and colleague, Linda Miles. For the benefit of anyone who may be new to the world of dentistry, Linda Miles is one of the most highly respected and recognized personalities in dentistry today. Her focus is now directed at showing practices how they can do well by doing good in support of oral cancer awareness, education, research, and treatment. She is founder of Linda Miles Consulting and the Speaking Consulting Network, and is current president of Oral Cancer Cause. Linda and I have known one another for over 20 years. I actually owe in no small measure the growth of our own foundation, the Dennis Klein for a Cause Smile Tree Foundation, to her early support and direction. And it's a pleasure and honor to once again be working together toward our common goal of showing dental practices how to harness the power and potential of cause marketing. Just as a brief reminder, Practice Perfection webcasts run for around 90 minutes. While attendees are in listen-only mode, we invite you at any time to submit your questions or comments using the question button on your screen. We will allow time following the presentation to get your questions answered. If for some reason we do not get to your particular question during the webcast, Linda and I will see to it that we answer your question shortly thereafter. Because this presentation is being recorded and you will receive a link to it, please do not feel the need to take copious notes. But if you should have any questions and care to submit one, please feel free to do that. You can also take notes if you want. I'm just saying, it might be more fun if you don't. Attendance at this presentation allows you to receive an hour and a half, 1.5 hours of continuing education credit. Shortly following the webcast, you will be emailed a brief survey and quiz, along with instructions on how to receive your CE. Now for the AGD disclaimer. Participants are cautioned about the dangers of incorporating techniques and procedures into their practice if the course has not provided them with adequate clinical experience to allow them to perform it competently. With that, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get started. Linda, shall we?
Yes, let's go.
All right. Essentially, what we're going to share today is a little groundwork on what cause marketing is all about, especially specifically cause event marketing. And then we'll move on to sort of the whys. You know, we'll give you the what, but people are usually motivated when they understand why they're being asked to consider something, and we'll spend, I think, a fair amount of time on that, and then get into the how is it done. And just by way of further introduction, Linda and I have been very committed to various philanthropies for quite some time. I have been very supportive, plan to be continually supportive of the oral cancer cause, and that because it is so important. It is an epidemic in this country, and sad and tragic though that is, it also represents a tremendous opportunity to grow your practice by engaging and helping the community in a very tangible way that quickly extends their perception of you beyond the traditional realm of dentistry. And that's why it is a beautiful gem with many facets. And as you will soon learn, and Linda will share, it can really make a difference for everybody. You, your patient, and the country. Let's start with the definition of what cause-related event marketing is. And me, I define it as a process by which an individual or organization seeks to achieve one or more business objectives as a consequence of its commitment to some form of philanthropy. And I embolden the term because I think people are understandably uncomfortable when they misunderstand that this is an attempt to feather one's nest, or it's somehow inauthentic that you're just assuming some guise of trying to help people when you just want to really put more money in your bank account. The benefit that inures to anybody through these these cross-sector partnerships is an unavoidable consequence of doing the right thing. And if your priorities are backwards, people will see through that in an instant. Essentially, cause marketing feels good and does good. I was talking to Linda before we hopped on the call, and the point is that, yeah, there's a structure to this, and it's a process to be learned, but we couldn't think of too many things that we have more fun doing than engaging the public and in something that everybody is glad they got involved with. Because for one thing, people are glad they got involved, and then that means that it has momentum, and it's something that you can continue to do. And just to talk about business side for a moment, studies have shown that given a choice between similar offerings, a person will select that entity that demonstrates a commitment to social responsibility. So it really is a nice way to differentiate yourself, and especially in challenging times. Unfortunately, the times aren't as challenging as they were, but this is a great bargain because it really involves being smart and establishing and nurturing relationships. And at the end of the day, you're not really having to shell out much of any money to make this work. And we'll show you more about why that is soon. And in terms of why we think this is something to look at and consider incorporating and embracing, let's just put down what I think the benefits are. If someone told you that they knew about a tool that involved no selling, cost little or nothing to implement, would enhance patient loyalty, encourage referrals, attract new patients, build team morale, and make a positive difference in your community, and as I'd already mentioned, is repeatable and also lots of fun, why wouldn't you want to know more? And that's everything that cause marketing has to offer and more. And the reason we're talking to you all, and Linda and I are, is that we know that the nature of the dental community, being all caring professionals to begin with, are already committed to giving back, as we call it, or sometimes you call it. And just some examples are donating your time or your office for a free smile makeover, or volunteering at a clinic, participating in an overseas dental project, offering a scholarship, staging an event, offering an oral cancer screening. Those are all examples that we know of. And the real distinction that we want to impart tonight is that you commit to not keeping your good works a secret. Although I understand the mindset, but actually you'd sometimes do a disservice to your chosen charity because there's strength in numbers. And basically not keeping your good works a secret allows you to associate the practice with a good cause, and it's a wonderful form of branding because it achieves memorable simplicity. Oh, this is the practice that's committed to helping children in Guatemala, or this is the practice that actually offers oral cancer screenings and is committed to helping prevent cancer in our community. And it helps you not just broaden relationships, but deepen them. Because when you work with people, and this is something that Linda knows and I know, when you actually volunteer or support a cause, and you're actually, it's a very intimate relationship, basically. And it really makes people remember, because as I think Maya Angelou said, people may not remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And that's why I'm so passionate about our overseas work, because we're actually building cultural bridges. Essentially, it puts a human face on your practice. And as I mentioned, there's strength in numbers, so we want you to not keep your good works a secret. Everyone can participate. One of your first decisions is to either create your own foundation or to support your own. Now, Linda built one, I built one. They certainly can be established, and a number of people that climbed with me in the early years of Climb for a Cause went on to form their own foundations. Dawn McClellan did Children's Dental Care International. She does wonderful work. These are the kinds of ideas that I love when people steal. But it is a decision because there is a commitment to time. And building is a bit more of a commitment than supporting. It's entirely your call. Another question is the cause that you selected fit well with your with your image, with your brand. And it's really whatever drives your passion, but at least for us, we feel it makes sense for members of the dental profession and industry to consider supporting oral health related causes. It makes sense, people get it, and there's no shortage of need. And here's a group that I supported. It just happened to be down the street from me. Didn't even realize it, but it was very rewarding. Other oral health related causes, Climb for a Cause and Smile Tree, talk a little bit about that. That's the group that I founded in 1994, actually, but since '98, thanks in large part to Linda's counsel, we have focused our support on oral health related causes. And we like to leverage the public's fascination with outdoors and mountains, and that is one facet of our foundation. But we realize that not everybody likes to climb a mountain, and this is one way to get involved. It sends an injury prevention message and a commitment to health, and you meet and spend quality time with like-minded professionals. But for those of you who'd rather perhaps just keep your feet on the ground and stay a little closer to home, the Smile Tree raises funds and resources for the same projects, the oral health education and treatment projects that we support in 4 countries overseas. But to be a Smile Tree branch office, all you need to do is decide at what level you want to get involved, how many projects you'd like to adopt, and then you're sort of a pen pal, but a pretty substantial pen pal, because we regularly communicate with practices. We send them posters and personalized acknowledgments, and it's a lot of fun. Let's talk about oral cancer cause, and let me let Linda do that, because she's the one who's heads this up and has the real passion for it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your cause, Linda?
Okay, thank you, Danny. Oral cancer cause, a little history of this. My friend Lee Tarvin's son was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer of the tonsil about 6 years ago, and I was so busy with the Speaking Consulting Network at the time that I really wanted to start something in honor of Dave Tarvin, because Lee is one of my very best friends, and it was just a devastating for a 42-year-old person to go in for outpatient surgery and find out that they needed a 5-hour inpatient surgery, and lots of treatment followed. And at the time, I didn't have a lot of time on my hands, and so I sold both of my businesses, and I met Robin Morrison, and she was telling me about her brother Mike, who died with oral cancer, and what a giving, loving person Mike was, and how he just lost his ability to speak and to work and to talk, and how she had tried to find help for his family who needed some financial help, because Mike had given away a lot of money. He was a very famous builder on the coast of Maine and knew that he could always make more money. So when it came time for him not to work, it created a real financial burden. And I, at the same time, was going through oral cancer in my own family with my dear sister-in-law, Charlotte, who was diagnosed about 6 years before her death. And both of these wonderful people in our families died in 2012. So Robin and I, with our 80-plus years of dentistry and her wonderful marketing background, we decided to start OCC to help families. But our number one purpose for OCC, it is a 501c3, born out of compassion for the many lives that have been lost to oral cancer and a passion for the many lives that can be saved. And by blending the knowledge of early detection and early awareness plus treatment, comprehensive oral exams, along with dedicated dental medical professionals, sponsoring partners, and dental medical associations, OCC can make a difference in the lives of many of these patients and their families. So when Robin was trying to find help for her brother, there were a lot of good foundations out there, sister foundations as we call them, but most of their money goes for oral cancer research, which is very, very important, but none of the funds were available to give to the families who whose lifestyle had been compromised. So it gives us such great pleasure when we can write checks to the families for child care, for transportation, for different things until they're back on their feet. And it's just the most heartwarming thing in the world when we get their thank you notes and stay in touch. These people actually become friends of OCC and friends of ours. And so our main purpose is to have more and more dental practices help us with the cause, because with dentistry, if it is to be, it is up to dentistry. The dentists are the only oral physicians of the mouth, and the greatest news for me, after having spent 55 years in dentistry and 36 years as a speaker, is seeing the medical dental families come together, the two professions. And for the first time, dentists are being asked to speak at medical conferences, and medical doctors are attending dental conferences. So I think for the next, Danny and I talked about this earlier, in the 70s, in the 60s, it was perio. Initial perio therapy was big. Then the 70s, composites. 80s was whitening and Hollywood smiles and cosmetic dentistry. The 90s were implants. The 2000s, sleep apnea and 6-month smiles and Invisalign. And I really believe the next big push in dentistry is going to be the whole health movement, and is certainly going to be dental oncology. Every family in the world has been touched with some form of cancer, and we believe that so many dentists are going to be jumping on this bandwagon and interacting with the oral cancer or the cancer centers in their city or their town, and they are going to be the go-to practice, which is our goal for OCC dentists, to become the go-to practices in their community. So we're excited about some new things coming up, and that is, Danny, that Robin and I, in January, when I'm in Florida for a month, we're going to be working on for the dental practices, your community event in a box, so that we can share the step-by-step process of setting up runs and walks and even the ugly toothbrush contest and doing oral cancer screenings and working with the Moms, the Mercy of Mission movement, and just doing a lot more, helping dentists and their team members really get involved, because most of them are busy people and they truly don't have time to just figure all this out on their own.
They don't, but they want to. Their heart is there. And thanks for sort of giving us the history, which is really gratifying if you think about how dynamic actually dentistry has been, at least since the 50s. Every decade has seen a new facet, a new offering, and they weren't fads, because a new movement, and it's really been a foundational sort of or an evolutionary shift, because these really, if you go through perio, composites, whitening, implants, sleep dentistry, and adult braces, oral systemic health, oncology, these are not fads, and
they're kind of like steps on the ladder. As you said, Danny, they've built a wonderful foundation. Those things are not going away. They just get better every decade. But along with every 10 years, there's a new movement. And I really believe that 20% of all dental practices will be jumping on this bandwagon. And I'm very proud also to be on the board of AADO, and that is the American Academy of Dental Oncology. And there are going to be classes teaching dentists how to treat these cancer patients, to prepare them for the first stage of getting better with any type of cancer is a dental clearance. So dentists are really going to get excited about this movement.
That's right. And the public and the medical profession, once they understand how important dental clearance is to their own patient outcomes and the efficacy of their procedures. We were also talking that we're just sort of underscoring the point that this is a wave, and it is coming to the shore, a shore near you. And the question is, do you want to ride on the crest, or do you want to follow on the trough? And that's really up to you. What we want to do is provide the resources so that doctors can make an informed decision about exactly where they want to be, if they want to be in the vanguard of this movement. And I know a lot of the practices that pay attention to our webcasts and our clients are committed to this enhanced level of care. And again, that's why oral cancer is, tragic though it is, it's a very exciting opportunity because it can differentiate you in a very tangible and simple way in the mind of your community and your patient to look at you as it's such a wonderful way to bridge the gap between dental and medical while you're helping people, and that's why we're very excited about it. And I know that those people that agree to have the cause marketing assessment, which will be offered, I'm sort of stealing our thunder a little bit, but everyone who attends here gets a complimentary cause marketing assessment, and then they'll.
That's wonderful, Danny.
Yep. Well, yep, and I thank you for agreeing to as well. And then your community event in the box will be just one more wonderful tool in the toolbox that is cause marketing. So thank you for enlightening all of us about all the great work. I just think it's fantastic that you're actually helping improve the quality of life of cancer patients, and that you're envisioning a world where every practice does true, full early cancer detection protocols.
And I really believe, Danny, you know, right now they say the statistics are that only 14% of all dental practices that the dentist or the hygienist is doing a complete and advanced oral cancer screening. And patients are now becoming aware, and they're asking for cancer screenings. And so I think it's a huge practice builder, truthfully, because every family has been touched with some form of cancer.
And I think, too, that some doctors, some dentists may hesitate utilizing these advanced protocols because they're not or hadn't been convinced, because it was early, if they were any more efficacious, if they really enabled you to identify questionable tissue or lesions. But I think that the jury is pretty much is in, and that it's
right. And there's several reasons, Danny, that oral cancer is not discussed openly with patients. Number one, I think that the fact that some dentists charge for an oral cancer screening, and so there's the money factor. So they're asking patients, do you want one? There shouldn't be a question. There should be one done, and even if they have to do them complimentary by saying, you know, some practices, Mrs. Jones, have a fee for oral cancer screenings because my team and I are so concerned about the rise in numbers of oral cancer, we do them as complimentary to our patient visit because they're so important to us. And it's a practice builder. They go out and tell 15 people, do you know that my dentist does oral cancer screenings complimentary because 40-some thousand people will be diagnosed this year with oral cancer. I mean, my friend, just to show you what one champion can do, Retta from our high school, 55 years ago, by the way, she and her husband RV 6 months out of the year. No, I'm only 57, Danny.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
Anyway, Retta and her husband have an RV, and they travel 6 months out of the year with RVers, mostly seniors. And Retta sets up an oral cancer table, purple tablecloth, purple balloons, purple everything. And she said 3 years ago when she had her first table, 90% of the people that came to her table did not know you could have cancer of the tongue, cancer of the tonsil, cancer of the lip, of the soft tissue, of the palate. They had no idea. And now 90% of them know and are telling other people. And so it's just, you know, what one person can do is amazing.
Yep. And you and Robin are amazing, and anyone that chooses to work with you will be glad that they did. Let's move on now to how it is done and what it is we're talking about. I always like, when I begin a project, certainly a strategy, something new, I like to begin with the end in mind and from a high level. And you don't get much higher than this, at least in the Western Hemisphere. This is a mountain called Aconcagua. Some of you know I like to traipse around on mountains in my spare time. And this was the route that finally got me to the top in 2009 after 4 attempts. And it's very analogous. I mean, when you're going to considered doing something challenging, such as climbing a mountain, first thing you want to do is consider the different routes and then choose the path of least resistance, the approaches and the destinations that will work best for you, your practice, and your community. And these were actually the 4 routes that I attempted, and it wasn't until the 4th attempt that I found a route that worked for me. And some of the approaches would, in terms of reaching your goal, which is to support your cause and incidentally grow your practice in the process, is your current patients, people in the community who are not yet a patient, local businesses, schools, and we'll have more to talk about what a great opportunity this opens up to communicating with schools and their children and the children's parents and the administration, and of course the media. And the goal is to engage your audiences, and here I have to probably explain who this is. Linda didn't know.
I don't watch TV, Danny. I don't have time.
I didn't know. Well, I don't either, but I used to. And this was in the late 80s, early 90s. There was a show called Star Trek: The Next Generation. And the skipper of the USS Enterprise, when he was going to launch into warp speed, would always say, engage. And so now you get it if you did it before. And that's the best way to engage your audience? Through visual and other stimulation, in-office displays, having a promotional web page or an event web page. We'll show you more what we mean about that. Engaging in drip marketing campaigns, email-based, automated campaigns you write and people subscribe, and then you just send them off and build your tribe or your communication list that way. Of course, press releases. On-hold messages is a great way to get a message across too. And of course, direct mail. This is our hot off the press 2016 Smile Tree branch office. I realized I had the 2015 one in here, so quickly threw it up there. But all branch offices get a poster every year, and every quarter they get a personalized acknowledgement from their adopted country and the country that they adopted. And this is just an example of one of our Smile Tree branch offices that has an update on their branch office status. That's what we call people who support the Smile Tree. We call them a branch office. And this is a screenshot of a fundraising or event management page that we set up. If you choose to support our cause, then we support you, or we help you by providing you with a website that you can modify, customize, and link from your page. We would always recommend that the link be on your homepage so that we can drive traffic to your practice website. And then they choose to go. Instead of going directly here, they may never learn about your practice. And Facebook posts are obviously helpful. We do that regularly for those who support us. This is Creekside Dental, regular branch office of the Smile Tree, and Bill has climbed with me probably half a dozen times. We appreciate his support very much. This was a post I did when I was in Vietnam. That's me in the middle there, surrounded by positively adorable kids. And it was very nice to get this post from you, Linda. I don't know if you remember that. It was a little while ago, but that's engagement. And press releases are another great tool. If you have something, the media are looking for stories. And contrary to what you may believe based on what you watch, it's not all bad news that they're looking for. In fact, I think sometimes they like a little feel good. And here's an example of a place when we ran for Climb for a Cause participant Alan Slutsky out of Boca Raton. We had a full, I don't know how long it ran, 3 minutes, I think, piece on the state news, Fox 29. This was Al. They had him.
He is
What's
a
that,
dentist.
Linda?
And he is a dentist,
oh, yeah.
right? Mm-hmm.
He is he's a general dentist in Boca Raton, Florida. Mm-hmm. And he climbed Mount Rainier with me in 1999, actually, which was probably the most challenging mountain we ever tackled as Climb for a Cause. And we've toned it down a bit since then. But it's still, if you're interested, be prepared for a physical challenge, just not so much technical or exposure as Mount Rainier was. And then you can ally with organizations that already get what cause marketing is. That's nice. It worked every time. Anywho, this was a link to, let's try one more time. Okay, it's rocking and rolling. This is Amazon Smile, and Amazon Smile will allow you to support a charity or even submit your own charity, and then you can have a link to a particular page there, lovely, which, oh, there it is. And this is just a reminder I got from Amazon that I'm listed with them, and hey, post this link somewhere, and anybody that buys anything from us, you will get a small percentage of the proceeds. And so this is actually our page. This is Climb for a Cause Foundation. So, you know, we send this link, and if people want to buy from Amazon anyway, you get 0.5% of everything they buy. This happens to be my crazy book list. But Lynn, you also, through Oral Cancer Cause, have worked with, I always forget the names, Heart with a Cart?
Care Card. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Care Cart, that's right.
It's on our site, and yes, we hope to be up and live, but it's a much better percentage that they pay than Amazon. And so we're on Amazon Smile as well, but we prefer the other, the new one. It's just, we were actually their very first nonprofit.
Yeah, and they're wonderful people too. I was able, this is Shopping with a Purpose right here, right? This is what we're talking about.
Purpose,
Yep, so good. And there was Charlotte. Charlotte Estep, that was your sister-in-law?
That was my, yes, my sister-in-law. My only sister-in-law. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A sweet lady.
Yeah, she looks like it. Okay, that's a way to boost your donations. And really, the best way, I think, to engage your community is to have a party. But have a party with a purpose. You can celebrate your support of oral cancer. You can celebrate your support of oral health education and treatment overseas. Or, again, you can support any cause you want. And we're just using ours because we hope you'll consider supporting them. We're passionate about them, and they give us an opportunity to demonstrate the various components that would comprise an effective cause-related marketing campaign. And here are the steps to a successful event. There are 4. You want to schedule kickoff and follow-up meetings with your team. Choose and vet your cause. Establish your timetable. And basically, again, begin at the end in mind. We want to have a party. We want to have it on this date. And now you know how much time you've got, and now you have all the different goals, kind of like the space program. We knew we wanted to be on the moon by 1970. We knew we had a lot of work to do. You'll be glad to know that this is not going to be quite as challenging as landing a man on the moon. In fact, it's going to be like falling off a log. And then you assign tasks and establish milestones. And that's pretty much it. And the kickoff meeting is important as well as follow-up meetings, so that during the first meeting, you really want to get buy-in from your team. I mean, there's 2 ways you could do this. You could walk in and say, hey, I'm going to be supporting oral cancer cause. Any objections? Or you could say, I know we've been talking a long time about doing something, a community event, or we've been actually very supportive and philanthropic, and I know you're all a bunch of caring folks. I'm wondering if maybe we should talk about focusing in and viewing this in a little bit more of a structured way so that we can do more good and continue to grow the practice, which in turn allows us to do even more good. And then open it up to discussion. Because if you have buy-in right at the onset, then everybody has had a say and a stake in the process, and nobody could ever say or really feel that they were dragged kicking and screaming into this.
Right.
With
and I think the teams really enjoy fun things, and they enjoy bringing the community in. And, you know, they're out there, they're getting donations, they're setting it up, and they're excited about, you know, the whole team gets involved, and the dentist really is more or less the leader, and but it's the team that does they're the quarterbacks that carry the ball.
Right. And then when you're actually at the big game, it's a lot of fun. That's the thing I remember. I had emceed a number of these events. I volunteered to do that, and I've had my own events. And it is like the big game. You know, you've worked hard, because you only really have to do two things to be successful. You've got to get people to the event, and the people at the event have got to be happy that they were at the event. But that's, you know, there are a number of things that you need to do to make sure that people do that. But when you put it all together, people are just having a good time. And you don't have to worry about scripting things. I mean, you just have a general idea. You know, we're going to have music, we'll have maybe drinks, we'll have food, and, you know, you can do it during the day and have it be a family affair. You can have it at your office if you think your office is conducive to such an event, or you can ask a local merchant who, by the way, would like to connect with people and get people into his or her restaurant perhaps that have never been there before. And that's why this is such a valuable tool, because it's truly win-win. These are called cross-sector partnerships, which is a highfalutin way of saying win-win. I do something that benefits you, you do something that benefits me, and we're both working to benefit someone that needs our help. And
our very
really
first, Danny, our very first one was a school project by Pauline Grabowski's daughter, and her private school asked, or actually it wasn't a private school, one of the high schools had them create an event, and they had to do the event all the way through, and Pauline knew me and chose oral cancer. And it was, you know, we had dentists who provided the entertainment for the band. We had door prizes galore, a raffle. It was a lot a lot of fun. Pauline and her daughter,
and the satisfaction
hard,
that the kids got.
Great. Yeah.
And this goes back to what I want to talk about later, too, about how you can actually reach out to schools. You can offer them a wonderful addition to their curriculum and make their jobs easier by even helping build their lesson plan around comparative cultures, civics, social responsibility, not to mention oral health and overall health. And, you know, they love it. And that's how you create a buzz and a sustainable relationship. And then in terms of choosing and vetting your cause, there are online services that you can check. There's Charity Navigator, I can't remember if it's .com or .org, GuideStar.org, and they only list the charities that are fairly large, well, at least $500,000 in proceeds raised per annum. But essentially, your criteria, I suggest, being, is the cause's mission consistent with your own? And also, how able or willing are they to support you, to be a promotional partner? In making your decision, as you can already tell, if you were to work with Client for a Cause and Smile Tree or Oral Cancer Cause, we're committed to your success. It's not like you call us and say, we'd like to support you. We say, okay, here's a website where you can click on a donation page. How much money do you want to donate today? Both organizations will be happy to accept donations, and we do. But really, it's enlightened self-interest from our point of view to know that you're seeing a return of some kind. Because most of us, first of all, are not in a position to be 100% philanthropic. We'd go out of business if that's what we did. And secondly, you just want to know that the operations are efficient, that a reasonable percentage of your dollar donated is going to the actual help that you're donating to. And essentially, those are the criteria to consider. We talk about efficiency of operations. What is their track record? What is their financial condition? What's their legal status? Is there any current or pending litigation? Because you can get tainted through the best of intentions with, just because of something that may or may not have been knowable. But it is worth checking it out. I mean, here's an example, and I have nothing but respect for Susan Komen, a cause. But there was a flap here, a few years ago when there was a controversy, and there was some consequences for some people as a result. Again, this is what Smile Tree does. Client for a Cause. We support Guatemala, Nepal, India, and Vietnam, and we're hoping to support more countries. which raises the question that is often asked but more often not, and that's why I just take a moment to address it. And Linda, you're welcome to comment on this too, but we're often asked, doesn't charity begin at home? And the answer is always an emphatic yes, it does, but it shouldn't end there. And speaking for myself, and I think others, I like to view my philanthropic efforts as I do my investments. I like to have a diversified portfolio. And that means I like to support local, regional, national, and international causes. And I will admit readily that I'm particularly passionate about the overseas initiatives because, first of all, I've traveled quite a bit, and anyone who has knows that while there's a definite need in this country for help, the depth of poverty in these countries is unimaginable in some cases, and they desperately need the help. Plus, every dollar that's invested in oral care overseas is like investing probably $10, $20, or $30 in the States. You can just leverage the care that much better. But I think the thing that drives my passion the most is that we're, as I mentioned earlier, we're actually building cultural bridges. When you're working in a developing country where there's strife and there are people that would wish to do Americans and Westerners in general harm, it's a lot more challenging to recruit someone to your side, to your cause, when the person you're talking to has had a direct and, as I said earlier, intimate relationship with a health provider who actually helped cure them of pain, gave them a smile, maybe gave them a lollipop, hopefully made of xylitol, afterwards, and really made a difference in their life. That's why I'm so passionate about it, and hope that other people can kind of, if they do have issues with supporting overseas charities, that they'll maybe take a second look at that.
I agree,
Not,
Danny. You know,
yeah.
So many of the kids overseas, they've never seen the end of a toothbrush, and having somebody come that cares and that takes good care and, as you said, relieves their pain, and I mean, you walk on water in their eyes.
That's right. And we, having said that, we are supporting domestic, well, I personally do it, but I'm also supporting Linda's oral cancer cause because that's something I'm passionate about too, and I think that can make a very large difference. And, you know, so I would ask you to consider diversifying your philanthropic portfolio as well. And then just to stay on track, you'll want to establish a timetable. And these are some of the key milestones. You know, it's sort of a summary. You want to vet your cause, confirm the support, that the cause will support you, confirm who you're going to be working with. Is there a single point of contact, or are you going to get bounced around? Decide on the date for your event, and we can talk about what constitutes a reasonable time frame for that. But, you know, where, when, and that's pretty much key, and then you work from that end, with the end in mind. I like to suggest a themed event. If you're whatever it can be, we've had rodeos, we've had people that have supported our Nepal projects. We would provide them with prizes and artwork from the Himalayan region, and we even had, when Charisse climbs for a cause, we had the people selling raffle tickets were the cute people, they were girls and boys, wearing climbing harnesses, and they had the roll of tickets like hanging from the harness, and they would just clip them off like they were vendors at a park. But and then we had a video with remind people why we were here, a short video, and we can provide all that support. And if you're supporting oral cancer treatment or care, I should say, you'll have no shortage of stories to share. And grateful people, grateful acknowledgement. You can have prizes and an MC, volunteers, raffle prizes, goodie bags, and all this stuff really ought to be donated because, again, it's an opportunity. If you go to a hair salon and say, hey, we're having this party, we'd like to invite you, and we'd also like to invite you to either offer a complimentary makeover or a discount coupons. We'll put them in our goodie bags. We're expecting 100 or 200 or 250 people to come, and free publicity for you, and you're helping us ensure people have a good time and want to come next year. And then promotional channels, your webpage, the event registration webpage, in-office displays, community outreach, and post-event and cross-sector partnerships, which again is just a sort of a catch-all for reaching out to your community or other entities who stand to benefit from their involvement, and they're truly committed and share your commitment to making a difference. And then, of course, we're not expecting you, the practice owner, to do it on your own. As Linda said, this is a team effort, and it's really important that we do tie the team into it. And it's nice to quantify. By X date, we should have this many people that are following our Facebook page, who have registered for our event, or who have received this many reminders. Maybe do a phone bank as the event approaches, line up donors, donations, and keep track of the new patients, which is really simple, because when you use an online registration page, you get the name and email address and other information of the person who may be a patient, may be a prospective patient, and then you promote to them, first of all, the great party. You can tag their photo on Facebook. You can invite them to share the posts, and you can invite them to next year's event, but you should also offer them some sort of an inducement to come into your office, some reasonable discount, certificate, whether they're a new or a current patient. That way you don't have to discriminate or people don't feel like they're being discriminated. And, you know, that's the way, and then you'll see, hey, this person was at our party, and we never heard of them before. And that's how you'll know. And if you do this correctly, you'd be pretty surprised at the rate of growth. And you know, if you have 100 people there, 5 new patients, was that worth it? I would hope so. If you don't know what the lifetime value of a patient is to your practice, talk to me offline, and we have a very quick exercise. It takes about 2 hours, and most dentists are floored when they realize how many thousands of dollars a typical patient is worth to their practice. To their practice, I'm not talking about national averages. And yeah, we talked about sector partnerships. It's a value-driven relationship. In other words, it's a win-win relationship, and it can be from anybody. It's really you're only limited by your creativity and energy in terms of how to put a win-win relationship together with members of your community. Cross-sector partnerships, and this actual slide refers to companies that are national or multinational, and we're talking local. But the principle is the same. You're still talking to nonprofit, for-profit, education, and possibly government sectors. The point that binds you all together is commitment to a greater good for society. And these are just some examples of win-win. The local media win by having a newsworthy story to share before, during, and after your event, and you get enhanced brand recognition. You get free promotion, basically. Local merchants, as I mentioned, they get free advertising, and you win by more relationships and a better party because they're offering probably free stuff for it. You know, depends on what you're asking for, but you can usually get a lot of good swag. And your charity should also be willing to support you with materials too. Your patients, friends, and family get to come to a great party, have a wonderful time, and meet wonderful people. And then you get the respect, appreciation, and oh yeah, new patients. And of course, your selected cause benefits, because they receive more support than you could possibly offer by yourself. And you know you've done a greater good. You've done more good, and you've grown together as a team. This is a tremendous team-building exercise. I would stack it up against a free flight to Hawaii anytime. I mean, that's fun, but I dare say that the feelings of camaraderie and shared purpose are a lot more ephemeral when you're comparing that with something like this that makes such a meaningful difference in so many people's lives. It's bigger than you are, basically. Bigger than I am. Here's some examples of the quarterly thank yous that our branch offices get. And people frame these, hang them on the walls, and a lot of questions, a lot of compliments. And you're also welcome to volunteer for one of our projects overseas. We are supporting 8 annual events now and planning to expand into the Horn of Africa, actually. And this is a painting, oil painting from Vietnam that we offered as a prize. And we have a catalog of collectibles online with Nepalese singing bowls and knives for the guys and all sorts of beautiful tapestries and pashmina scarves and pretty cool stuff. And social media, of course, great way to get the word out, no cost. And raising funds for your favorite charity. We hope some of you at least will choose Smile Tree as your favorite. This is, I was telling Linda, I was in Hoi An. We were vetting the Vietnam clinic, and we had done the clinic, and I realized I hadn't really had any kids hold the images, so I had to sort of bribe a couple of kids. I had to talk to their parents about it, and gave them enough money to get them a nice lunch, and they did earn their money. I think I had them, I was telling Linda, I think they had to pose for like 30 photos like this. They were pretty hungry by the time they were done. But I got out of the country before anybody got me for child labor or anything. Violations. This is Virginia and me in, I think, when was it, Virginia, 2009? I didn't introduce Virginia. She's my life and business partner. Without whose support, none of this could be possible. So
yes, that was 2009.
Yeah, and you were back last year, weren't you?
I was.
2 years ago. It was last year. That's right.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I'm owed a trip, and this is what makes it worthwhile. I mean, this is, you just see hundreds of examples of shots like this. Kids that they're anxious or scared. It varies, but they're pretty much always smiling by the time we're done. Probably because they're so glad it's over. But anyway, we feel good about it. And these are buttons, just a graphic of a button, because the best thing to do is to have your patients asking you, so that you and your team aren't uncomfortable saying, hey, you want to come to our party? Instead, you have things that prompt a question from them, and then you can just say, I'm glad you asked. We're very excited to be supporting oral cancer cause, and here's why. And this is an example, if it works, of a fundraising page, a live one. Small a little bit, and this can all be customized. You can put your own logo, your practice photo there. You can talk about the charity you're supporting, and you can sell tickets to your event. Instead of make a contribution, you could say, buy a ticket, 1 ticket, 2, 3, 4, or whatever, and then people can choose to either be listed as raising money, or they can be anonymous if they want. And it's nice to link that from your practice website, as I said earlier, because any promotion that we would do on your behalf, press releases, we could simply say, please visit abcsmiles.com to learn more. And then right on the home page is, we're having a party and you're invited. Click here. But now they came through you, and they know that your website, that you're the ones who are behind it. And we are big on press releases. They can be very effective. And the online wire services actually will help optimize your website if they're distributed properly, because they act as an inbound link, which is something that Google looks at. They see your website address listed on other high quality, highly credible websites, and that raises your perceived value of your website in the eyes of Google, and it helps get you optimized, which is important, of course. Because if people are looking for a dentist, we want them to find you. This is one that we posted in celebration of our pop-ups. Our 2015 Climb for a Cause event, we actually set some records there. We had 65 people hike the south rim of the Grand Canyon with us, and we raised $50,000. And here's that inbound link. See, that goes to my website, so I'm getting some value here, and I'm not ashamed of that, because I'm in business to stay in business. Here's an example of a press release that we ran for one of our participants who climbed with us, and his name was Rick Hires. He was very hesitant to have a party, but he finally did, and I asked him for a quote, and he said, yeah, well, I told you it would seem like it would be a lot of work, but see, they got an early start, and that's important. Then it was manageable, and it gets easier, just like anything else. You know, your first root canal, whether you give one or get one, I don't know about they get easier when you get them, but and hopefully you never get more than one. But presenting or delivering one is just, it's a learning curve, and it's the same thing with having an event. Especially because you get that good feeling. You say, hey, this was fun. Let's do it again. And I mentioned Dr. Slutsky. Dr. Connolly was also on that climb, and he's in St. John's, Michigan. And these two guys rode that way for years. They were known as the mountain climbing dentist, which is a little easier to distinguish yourself when you're in Florida or Michigan, I suppose, than Colorado or Washington State. But nonetheless, it paid off. I want to thank you for your kind attention. I do hope that you will reflect on what we've shared today. And before we move into the Q&A, I do want to remind you that anybody that follows up with us and wants to schedule a cause marketing assessment will also receive, with our compliments, a really wonderful book by a gentleman named Bruce Birch called Win-Win for the Greater Good. And he's a brilliant, retired individual who really helped launch Red Cross and United Way and a number of other large organizations. I think the Olympics celebrations. I mean, he just has to his credit some amazing events that he put together through cross-sector partnerships. It's a 240-page download that we will be happy to send to you. No strings attached. And this is how you can contact myself or Oral Cancer Cause. Linda's colleague, Robin Morrison, is the one who will field your inquiries. I will be happy to work with you directly should you have an interest in doing so. And before we go to questions, Linda, is there anything you'd like to share?
I just wanted to let the listeners know that they can become an OCC dental practice. Robin and her marketing company provides dentists with their marketing poster for their office, their windows clings for oral health. Oral Cancer Awareness Month is April. And also, every single patient leaves the dental practice from their hygiene visit wearing a sticker that says, "Got mine," and our logo. And I accidentally wore mine to a jewelry shop that I was having a piece of jewelry appraised for some insurance about 4 years ago, about 4 months ago. And I wore my sticker, and all the women in the jewelry shop said, "What did you get, your flu shot?" And I said, "No, I had my oral cancer screening at my dentist, Dr. Tanya Brown." And they all gathered around and started talking about it. So it really does create, you know, awareness in the community for people to walk out of your dental practice with that. So we provide all the marketing brochures. We also provide dentists and their team members with a spot on the OCC website, which is oralcancercause.org. And you become part of the locator. So if somebody is looking for a practice that provides oral cancer screenings, your name would be listed. And it's on a mission to recruit dental practices throughout North America, to work with them at a grassroots level to increase oral cancer awareness. Our founders have a combined 80-plus years in dentistry and marketing, and there's our shared passion for dentistry and for saving lives is our biggest inspiration.
That's fantastic, and it is a great cause, and yeah, you'll receive wonderful support from these folks. I can promise you that. All right, thank you again, and let's move on to questions. Virginia, do we? What is our first question?
Yes, we've got some questions. We've got one for Linda. This question is, where can I get ideas and a timeline of when to do what to make events like this not only doable but very successful?
Well, we are going to probably have these available by mid-2016 because Robin and I are going to work diligently on these. And the good news is, Virginia, we want all of the listeners to participate because we are offering a very wonderful $1,000 gift certificate to the practice that has already done events like cause marketing and for any type of event that they've done. And we want them to submit not only what they did, how they did it, and all the steps along the way, including the timeline, and their practice could actually, whether they're an OCC practice or not, their practice could actually win the prize to be divided hopefully among the team or have a party or whatever they wish to do with it. So we're excited. We know that we can't possibly come up with all of the events in a box, but we know that there are some very sharp dental practices that probably want to join the contest. So I would say by mid-June, we're going to start working on it in January, and we'll certainly have them finished in a few months.
Fantastic. Wow, what a generous offer. Okay.
Now here's a follow-up question to that. How many events do most practices do per year?
I think that most do start off with an annual event, and then if they are supporting more than one different type, like they may want to become an OCC practice and say, oh, I'm not a mountain climber, but I'd love to be a branch of the smile tree. And getting these pictures, these beautiful pictures, I still have mine, Danny, of the children in Vietnam or Guatemala or different countries that are so, they're just smiling from ear to ear. And, you know, placing those throughout the office, it's just a great feeling for the community. And you can actually have a donation box in the reception area with the pictures, and you know the patients often are inclined to make a donation. So it's just, you know, getting the whole practice and the people within the practice and the community to help with the causes. I think that lets people know that this is a very giving dental practice. This is not just a place that you go and have your teeth treated.
Mm-hmm. And I might just say that we want to be careful because events can be habit-forming. But I would say that for the first go-around, I think that it would be sufficiently ambitious for the practice, the team, to commit to a single event, an annual event. And then, as Linda said, if you have a good time with this and your team are really cranking with it, yeah, you can have seasonal events and you can have different themes. And, I mean, the potential to grow, to explode your practice at that point is really limitless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got another one here. How much time does it take to successfully stage a local event?
Okay, well, that's a good question. You mind if I start with that one?
It really depends. You go right ahead, Danny. It really depends on the event and how large of a net you're going to throw out to, you know, the community.
That's right. I would say, as Rick Hires mentioned, the sooner you start, the less pressure there is. In 1992, the first event I ever did was Run for the Ark. It was a 5K, 10K run-walk event here in Chicago. And we had 5 months lead time. And it was a little less competitive than I have to say, but we ended up getting 600 people to sign up. We had 600 people climbing or running or walking. And we raised about $25,000. And that was profit. And it was very successful, but it was quite stressful. I was early in my career. I didn't have anywhere near the sort of the hectic schedule that I have now. But I would say that certainly the earlier you start, the better. If it's your first event, I would say 8 months would be fine.
8 months is much better to get everything going the first time. And it gets quicker as you go along.
That's right. And then you'll start understanding that the promotion of your next event really begins before the current event ends, because you want to have something to share with the people at the event. to say, save the date,
When
this is what we're doing.
Our next is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So, just as a rule of thumb, I would say 8 months for your first one, but you can do it in 4 or 5. As Linda said, it depends on how broad a net you want to cast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
one of the things, Virginia, I was going to mention also is that the bank lobbies are a great place. They're busy on a Saturday, and usually it's 8 to 12 or 9 to 12. And one of our clients had an ugly toothbrush contest, and that is bring your ugliest toothbrush, and you'll get not only a free toothbrush and a little kit from our practice, you'll get a complimentary oral cancer screening. And they had like a chair set up in a private office to do the screenings, and it created such a buzz in the community, and it was a lot of fun. And people were out actually sweeping their driveway with their toothbrush so they could win. They were putting tar on it, peanut butter, you just name it. And everybody in the neighborhood wanted a free toothbrush. They got a lot of new patients from it. So just coming up, your team members can be very creative in coming up with something simple that you could do in 3 months and something more extravagant that attracts 6 or 8 or 600, 800, or 1,000. That may take 8 months to a year to put on.
That's right. You can have a big, hairy, audacious goal, but we prefer that you have realistic expectations, because that's going to, success breeds success. And
and
if
it
you
gets
can have
better
40
every
people,
year.
you can have 30 or 40 people show up at an event. That's a success, unless you rented out a 10,000 square foot warehouse, which you may not want to. Okay.
Well, along those lines, someone just asked, is it expensive to set up an event promotion and management website?
Danny, I'll throw that back to you.
Yep.
You're the marketing expert.
Yes. Well, it's free if you agree to work with us, with Climb for Cause or Smile Tree. If you're going to set one up on your own, that really is between you and your webmaster. And it also depends on the scope of the functionality that you want your website to offer. If you want to be able to accept registrations or donations, you really need an e-commerce solution, which, gets involved. There are services that will set them up for you where you don't have to pay, but they're not free. The service takes a percentage of every dollar that is raised, which may or may not be an issue. We worked with a group like that, and I didn't begrudge their right to earn a percentage, but what we did, and they didn't have an issue with this, to my knowledge anyway, maybe they didn't know. I like to get forgiveness rather than permission sometimes, was we just say right on the website that you can send us a check if you prefer. And if they send a check, then you don't share the proceeds, but you also run the risk that they're not going to get around to sending the check. That's the nice thing about having an online website. And Virginia, you've worked with this too, setting up at least the gateways and stuff. It's not so much that it's expensive; it's kind of a pain in the butt, isn't it? Which is why I delegated that job to you.
It's a little bit of work, but it's not too bad, because I think things are very automated online now, so they really like to make it easy for people.
They have online shopping carts and things that you can look into getting for sure. Okay, did you want to say anything about that, Linda?
No, I think you covered it well.
Cool.
Okay,
All right.
And this one has to do with if you're having your team members work on this project, how should I compensate my team members for their work on community events?
That's a very good question. Very good question. And, what we had hoped, and this is in 20 years ago, is that we would create a team full of people that would absolutely want to go out and do this work and be at the event and so forth. But the new HR laws, the new employment laws state, unless your practice is nonprofit, which I hope no dental practices are nonprofit, you actually must compensate.
Not by choice.
You must pay your team members for the hours that they are working on the project, the event itself. Now, a lot of dentists may say, oh, that would be horrible, and I would expect my team to donate their time, their energy. So what I usually recommend doing is, in all my client offices, I recommended that they have a certain amount of hours per week in their practice called non-patient time. And a lot of times in my seminars when I mention non-patient time, I said most of my successful practices have 2 hours a week of non-patient time, because if you're in your practice every hour that patients are there, there's a ton of things in practice management, team meetings, in-house training, all the things that need to be done that are not being done. So if you work on your project on those 2 hours a week, once a month, that 2 hours a month, if you work on your projects during that time, then it is paid time as well. But at the event, I highly recommend compensating your team members, which came directly from Tim Twigg, who is the owner of Bent Erickson and Associates. And I did do a little research on that, Virginia, and found that definitely your team members should be compensated for being there.
But I love your solution, and it's consistent when we talk about coaching team members on, for instance, the art of first impressions on telephone skills mastery. That should be something that's incorporated into the team meeting, and the team should be compensated for it because they're being asked to acquire a skill that's going to enhance the success of the practice. Exactly. And I don't think that that's unfair in any way, shape, or form. And it also, prevents the team from feeling like they're doing something grudgingly or not willingly. And of course, the reason for the law is because people can be, say that you can force people to volunteer essentially when you have that power imbalance of employer versus employee. So I understand why they have the rule, but it's an unfortunate one.
Well,
I
the
think
government
that's
wants
a good
the
solution.
FICA taxes, and that's the number one rule. Yeah, because they do not want to lose out on payroll taxes, I can assure you. And that's the number one reason for it. And I pray that no dental practice is a nonprofit entity, and if you are nonprofit, then you can get by with asking for volunteers.
Right.
That are
I should say that
well.
My explanation was more of a justification or a rationale. But yeah, I'm shocked to hear that the government would stoop so low as.
Well, and those 2 hours a week of non-patient time can actually add 20 to 25% of an increase in a practice. So when I mentioned 2 hours a week, they gasped, and the doctors were thinking, oh my gosh, did she say 2 hours a week? That's a day a month of lost production. No, it's an increase in productivity because you're working on the practice, not just in it.
Absolutely right.
And
it's
the
an investment.
Take place during one of those 2 hours of organizational time.
It reminds me, sometimes I'll talk to a dental office and they'll say, well, I can't talk to you during office hours, so I have to meet with you, basically at night or in the morning when I don't have office hours. And I try to be flexible, but depending on the relationship, I'll say, basically I understand you want to be available to treat a patient during the day, but what we're talking about is about strategies that will generate maybe 250 more patients than you otherwise would get. So I think it might be a trade-off to consider of time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions, Virginia?
We do have one more question. It is, how do I secure media placements about an event?
How do I what?
How do I
secure media
placement for an event?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that again.
I heard it.
Okay.
Linda might be able to hear me a little bit better.
Okay,
yeah,
no,
well,
I didn't, go ahead.
The question was, how does one secure media placements about the event that you want to stage? And and I'm sure you know, and I know, it's really, the first thing you do is, we're always about, in life, I think, trying to grasp the low-hanging fruit first. And so rather than trying to get on the CBS Evening News first thing I would do is talk to your team and look at your patient files and see if anybody is a patient of yours who is a member of media, specifically a media outlet that you would like to be featured on, that appeals to your demographic, ideally.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you can't, you can simply ask yourselves, what media do we want to be placed in? And I would not limit it to any one form. It could be print, radio, web, or television. And typically when we work with a branch office or a Climb for a Cause participant, we will reach out to 3 media outlets for them at no fee. And what we do is, first of all, we put together a press release with the input of the practice. What is it we're promoting? The more tangible thing we're promoting, the better. I mean, if you say this is what we're doing and people that are interested in raising money can go to our fundraising webpage, that's fine. And we do that sometimes. If you're having an event and you know what the theme is and when it is and where it is, and you also invite the media to attend without fee, by the way, because they'll bring their cameraman with them, then you can create a buzz. Yeah, a lot better. And then I try to follow the path of least resistance too. So if my branch office says, well, yeah, Mary Jones is the co-anchor for News 9 here in Louisville. Well, yeah, do you have her name? You have her contact information? Then I give her a call, and she either says I'm the right person to talk to or I'm not the right person to talk to, and I ask who is the right person to talk to. And then I just get their name and confirm that they prefer to receive the press release as an email, which they almost always do. There's still some people that want to fax. And I always do a telephone sandwich. I call, I confirm what I'd like to do and get their agreement to receive it. I send it, and then I call to confirm receipt and see where they'd like to go from there, if there's interest or if I can answer any further questions. And we have a pretty remarkably good batting average, because it's just not that difficult. As I said, the media are looking for newsworthy, feel-good stories, especially if they can get a free meal out of it.
Right. May I tell them about Dr. Jeff Blackburn in Richmond, Virginia, actually Midlothian, and he had a paid 1-minute commercial, and I haven't seen it, but my sister lives in Richmond and has seen it, and I've talked to Jeff many, many times since I learned about this. But he has a 1-minute ad on television. He's an oral cancer survivor, and he's a wonderful dentist. Just his patients love him. And during his treatment, he became very good friends with the oncologists, the radiologists, the ENT doctors, and he gets a lot of referrals from Richmond for all types of cancer patients. But he has an ad, a 1-minute ad on television, himself speaking. Hello, my name is Dr. Jeff Blackburn. I'm a practicing dentist in Midlothian, Virginia. I'm an oral cancer survivor. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with any type of cancer recently, your first stage of recovery is your dental clearance. Call our office. You will be seen same day. And that has just catapulted his practice to become the go-to dentist in Richmond.
Yeah, fantastic. All right.
So the media is looking for good, as you said, they're not always looking for the worst stories, but in this time of what's happened in Paris recently, we need some good stories, and I think that they would be very interested in. I think all of the listeners should eventually be on Ellen DeGeneres and probably on Kelly Ripa, the Today Show. All of these shows should absolutely be interested in all of your events.
Well, and I think they will. And I also want to, a number of people simply send questions asking how they could donate to our respective causes, Linda, and I just let them know that they can visit your website, or they can contact you, the information on the screen. But your website, there, you have a donation page there, a link, right, at oralcancercause.org, correct?
Yes, at oralcancercause.org.
Mm-hmm. And people can likewise visit smiletree.org or fightingforacause.org and learn more about our initiatives. If they simply want to donate, we would accept it with grateful appreciation. And I think that pretty much wraps it up, right, Virginia? I don't see any more questions on the screen. Am I missing any?
No, I think you got them all.
All right. Well, wonderful. I want to just thank you again sincerely, Linda, for taking the time and educating us about the wonderful work that you and Robin are doing, and especially everyone who took the time to attend this evening's webcast. In a few days, you will receive an email with instructions on how to receive your 1.5 hours of CE credit. And I ask you now to please mark your calendars for our next webcast, which will be on Tuesday, December 22nd at 7 p.m. Central Time, when my very special guest will be Kathy Bassett, who will deliver an important and timely webcast entitled A Win-Win Approach to Comfortable Anesthesia Delivery. Adapt your clinical skills for success using CCLAD, that is computer-controlled local anesthesia delivery technology. Until then, this is Danny Bobrow, thanking you for your continued commitment to practice perfection. Thank you again, Linda, and goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, Danny. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.